Hey, thanks, Caitlin. Thanks, everybody. $2,000. And during my session, this is exciting stuff. So, and the other thing you have to add into that is, on a scale of 9 to 10, how well am I doing in this presentation? So, as Caitlin said, I'm Larry Walsh, and I want to share with you some information that we have been working on um, with Axient. Axient and Chelnomics partnered over the summer to do some research, and this is the fruits of the research. And we've distilled it down into for this session to talk about what you need to do to prepare for the future. And let's just be candid about this. There's a lot of uncertainty going on. We have a lot of mixed questions, mixed perceptions about what's happening in the general economy and what that means for all of our businesses. And I'm just going to jump into this. The big questions is, let's dispense with the entire idea of whether or not we're in a recession or whether one is coming. There's a whole lot of academic debates about this, but right now it feels like we are. So how, as an MSP, how should you be thinking about counteracting the recessionary conditions? What do you need to do to make sure that your business remains viable, that remains healthy, and in some cases even growing? Um, are your current operations up to the task? And when I say the task, what I mean by that is that will you be able to be agile enough? Are you able to maintain operations even as we hit economic turbulence? And I can tell you from experience of watching MSPs and talking with them during the pandemic. It's just 2 years ago when we went through that really big shock, when the economies were all shut down and businesses really had to readjust the way that they were operating. A lot were caught ill prepared. So now is a really good time to be asking yourself, do you actually have your operations tuned to the point of where you can combat, you can counteract the recessionary conditions? What can you do to survive and thrive? And when I say that survive and thrive, I think it's important that we make a distinction. It's not enough to survive. We really have to um, we really have to think about how do we make businesses work even better, uh, even when they're experiencing these types of economic challenges. Your customers are going to be feeling the same pressures that you will. So what is it that you need to do not just to survive through this, but also to thrive? And thriving means helping your customers do as well as you are. What can you do to help your customers? And as managed service providers, you can do a lot. Managed services, I won't say are recession proof, but they definitely are recession resilient. And because of that, because of the nature of the economic structures of how managed services are charged and paid for by the customer, that many customers will then shift from whatever on-premise or in-house resource they have to managed service to you, your managed service provider, because they're going to look for ways of economizing. They're going to look for ways to going from fixed cost to flexible or variable costs. And you can help give your customers a lot of different options for how they can maintain their operations, survive and thrive with your help. And what are the changes? What are some of the changes that help your business grow? So this was the kind of the big questions that we were asking as we were doing the research with Axient. As I said, over the summer, we're surveying MSPs across the country, and we were asking questions about, are you feeling the impact of the recessionary conditions? Are you taking steps to optimize your business? We went out and we talked with more than 300 MSPs about this. And it was really remarkable. The results are actually really telling. Um, the MSPs are really the backbone of the industry now. The average MSP that we spoke with generates between $5 and $10 million a year in annual revenue, and a lot of that revenue is based on business continuity and disaster recovery. And the questions we were asking, the data we generated, were really to provide us with directional guidance on what do we need to know to help provide you with the insights that you need in order to make sound decisions on insulating your business and driving it to another level despite the headwinds that we expect to be encountering. So I'm going to dive into this, and I hope we are able to have a little bit of dialogue with the in the questions as well. But I want to start by sharing what did we learn about the state of managed services and business continuity and disaster recovery. Um, a few things is that security and BCDR are consistently top 10 growth drivers. We hear this a lot at Challenomics. We do dozens of surveys a year of businesses like yours. We're constantly probing to understand what it is that is, that what are the customers asking of you? What are you seeing as your opportunities to grow your business? What are the things that are driving your revenue growth and your profitability? Security is always a top three. We see this all the time, is that because security is a persistent issue, regardless of the state of the economy, hackers and black hats and bad actors, they don't care. They are always going to be trying to probe and penetrate and compromise networks, compromise data, whether they're good times or bad times. So security is always an omnipresent, persistent issue. BCDR is also in the top 10. It rises and falls, and every now and sometimes it will go to number one, sometimes it will go to number five, but it's always in the top 10. It's a very important component, and it is a complement to to security as a driver. The average MSP that we spoke with, that we surveyed, supports between 100 to 150 customers. There's probably most of the MSPs that we're surveying are supporting anywhere between 1,500 and 2,500 seats or devices, all with BCDR. And again, you'll see this in a moment. BCDR is a critical element to the MSP service delivery equation. 96% of the MSPs that we surveyed said that BCDR is important to their business, not just important, but important to their future viability. That it is truly, because it is a linchpin of their value proposition, that it is, not to have it and not to have it operating well would severely crimp their ability to execute, their ability to remain able to deliver a value proposition. 74% of the MSPs we surveyed said that they expect BCDR sales to increase in the next 12 months. In fact, it is going to be one of those things as the economy tightens up, as businesses start to feel a strain, as they try to do more with less, they are also going to try to insulate themselves, and they're also going to try to protect their data and their infrastructure. And one of the ways they're not going to skimp out on is business continuity and disaster recovery. And we know from history, and they know it as well, is that businesses that fail to protect their data typically fail. Or if they don't fail, they suffer enormous amounts of pain, short-term and long-term. The average MSP, I told you there's a reason why BCDR is important to this equation, is that the average MSP generates between 26 and 30% of its gross revenue from BCDR services. So if you think about this, is that the average MSP is generating between $5 and $10 million a year in gross revenue. About a quarter to a third of that is somewhere between 1.2 and $3 million of that is being generated by BCDR alone. It is a substantial amount of revenue. And it's little wonder why this is such an important topic and an important technology. There are challenges though. And just because BCDR is a growth driver, just because it is a substantial source of revenue, it does not mean it is worry-free. 36% of the MSPs say that their BCDR systems, the ones that they have today, remember, keep that, I did not misspeak there when I say the ones, but the systems that they have today are inefficient, that they are difficult to operate, that they are not up to the task to operate at a high level of effectiveness, to be able to deliver the value that the customers expect, to be able to scale in a way that is meaningful to the MSP. 23% say their BCDRs lack key capabilities and they have gaps in the functionality. And this is really an important point because the MSPs, or what the MSPs are telling us, is that their current systems don't have all the capabilities they need to meet the customer's expectations or to address the issues that they're encountering. Another 19% tells us that the BCDRs that they have in place are too complex or too difficult to operate. Complexity is the enemy of smooth and efficient business operations. And what you'll see in the research that we've done is that this translates in a number of ways that are not typically seen by the outside world. That complexity causes MSPs to work harder, not smarter. And the old expression saying that you should work smarter, not harder, really can't be applied in this context because of the complexity and the inefficiencies of these systems. 1/5 of the MSPs in our survey are telling us that they can try to be as smart as they can and still not achieve the level of effectiveness that they need to. 14% say that their BCDR systems don't provide a clear avenue for growing their business, that they just are not capable of providing the systemic support, providing the value prop, or enhancing their value proposition to drive net new business and to generate new revenue. And then 9%, or 1 in 10, tell us that their current systems are just too expensive to operate. And that expense statement is not just baked into the cost of the system, the cost of licensing, the cost of the services. This is also part of the total cost of ownership. That when they're telling us that they're too expensive, it's because of, think back up the stack here to complexity and functionality, that is just simply too expensive to them on the back side of the cost, their labor, their training, their overhead costs. It adds up to a point where they just say it is becoming counterproductive to the soundness of their business. Redundancy is part of this inefficiency problem. And this, I will tell you, is one of the things that really did surprise me when I got the results back of this survey. And I've heard this because I've been following managed services for 15 years. I've followed the backup space since it's, the backup services space since its inception. And I heard this back in the early days that MSPs were using multiple BCDR systems because they were treating them as products. So if somebody didn't like the price of one, they just roll over and present another one. Well, that's not the way it really is today. Today, it's more about functionality, so that they're operating multiple types of BCDR to be able to address the different customer needs or the different scenarios in which they're doing service delivery. Here's the surprising part. 87% of MSPs are using 2 or more BCDR systems. Now, having a primary and a secondary may not sound like a bad thing, so an 87% doesn't really sound all that terrible. 53%, though, are using 3 or more systems, and 26% are using 4 or more. And the reasons why they're using multiple systems is because of the gaps in functionality, the inefficiencies in some that are compelling them to have redundant systems to meet needs that they can't meet with one singular system, or at least the way that they perceive it that way. There is a substantial cost associated with BCDR inefficiency. So increased operational complexity. If you're operating multiple BCDRs, that means that you have to invest more in training. You have to invest more in people. You have to have redundant and overlapping policies and processes. This all increases, your organizational or your operational expenses. This can also lead to poor customer experiences and diminishing of the perceived customer value. When we see this in the research results, is that the MSPs are telling us that they're having a difficult time meeting and exceeding the customer expectations because of the inefficiencies and the redundancies in these systems that they have. It takes longer for them to address the customer's request for support or resolve their issues, and all of that leads to a poor customer experience. Now, I will tell you that this point right here alone gives me pause, because in other research that we've done, we've seen the impact of customer experience on recurring revenue. Is that if a customer does not have a good experience, they will switch providers. When it comes to services like this, it can be quite portable. And the customer doesn't have a problem in moving to another provider where they perceive that they are getting a better experience. Customers want to have a superior experience with their providers, and they base their renewals and they base the expansion of consumption of more services based on their post-sales experience. You can do a lot of things leading up to the point of the transaction when this contract is signed, but the customer is evaluating you based on what happens over the term of the relationship. As I said, a lot of this results in elaborate and expensive processes. Is that if you have to run multiple playbooks to set, in your business to perform basically the same task, that adds cost. There's higher operating costs associated with, as I noted, the licensing, the service fees, sometimes even where the data is being stored. So a lot of this results in aggregating up more costs, and those costs either have to be absorbed or passed on to the customer. Also can result in lower renewal rates. As I said, the customer is going to evaluate you based on their experiences, and whether or not they're going to renew, or whether or not they're going to renew with you and give you and challenge you on the pricing, is all going to be resulting on how efficient you're servicing them. And of course, there's higher labor cost. Is that with multiple systems, you have to either have multiple teams, or you have to be training and maintaining your teams in such a way that they are able to operate across multiple systems. So it's all really substantial. MSPs, though, and this is another, it's encouraging, I will say. It's encouraging to see that MSPs are taking steps to resolve this, and they're doing so through optimization and consolidation. And they're optimizing their existing business structures by consolidating around fewer BCDR systems. 42% tell us that they are replacing their existing systems for those that have greater levels of efficiency. They're looking for it. They're not standing by and just trying to make do with whatever inefficient or makeshift systems that they have in place today. They are looking actively for replacements, ones that will give them the functionality, the ease of use, the time to market that their customers demand, and at the same time also reduce their operational burdens and their cost. Another 40% say that they're consolidating and replacing their BCDRs for more cost-effective systems. So cost effectiveness is exactly what I was describing on the last slide, in that they're looking for things that are going to allow them to move faster, to be able to be more agile, to scale their business more, and to service their customers faster. So you can see that there's a lot of movement that's happening as a result of all this inefficiency. And now is really the time. If you haven't thought about this before, now is the time to be thinking about what can you do to reduce your footprint, so that you have greater levels of focus, more efficiencies on your operations, and then also, translating that into more effective or a more cost-effective means of operating your business. So we did ask, because it's important to learn from those that are truly practitioners. So we asked, well, what is it that MSPs are looking for to develop this level of success? What is it what are the technical attributes that MSPs believe will drive their business to a higher level of performance? Well, first things that they're looking for is cloud virtualization as a backup. they're looking for a cloud first solution. They're looking for a way, they're looking for providers that will allow them to have the seamless service delivery and allow them to put their customer data into, and not just into a cloud environment, but also into a, a secure cloud environment so that there is a greater level of assurity that the data is not only protected, but the integrity remains high. The second thing is that they're looking for unlimited cloud-based storage. And this is, again, another important cost consideration. We hear this a lot. There's new studies that have been out there that there are a number of companies that are looking to repatriate their infrastructure from public clouds to either the private or hybrid clouds because of those toll charges, the IO rates that they charge on. They don't, the cloud companies make money on how much data moves in and out of their systems. What the MSPs are telling us is that they can't afford to have variable costs. They want to be able to have unlimited cloud storage so that they know that when they set a price, that price will remain good for the duration of the service engagement. They want systems that will provide quick and easy backup. If you were just on watching the demo, I have to tell you, I am not a practitioner. I'm an analyst. I watch, I observe, I study, and I see these systems, but I'm not the guy who's actually going to be able to tell you how to work them. But after watching that the demo in the last session, I was like, God, I could do that. That's easy. And that's what a lot of the MSPs are telling us. They want quick and easy because easy or frictionless operations means that they're able to do more with less. More with less means more time on their hands, which means that translates into either lower cost and higher profitability. So quick and easy, another big important consideration. They're looking for local virtualized backups as well. They want to be able, and again, think about this from a quick and easy perspective. Localized backups means that they're able to recover data on behalf of their customers faster so their customers can maintain their operations. They want to be able to recover from ransomware and go back to what I was saying just a few moments ago about security. It doesn't matter how bad the economy gets, hackers are still going to be moving against businesses large and small. And ransomware truly is one of the favorite tools for doing that. So, beautiful thing, BCDR is a means of combating the ransomware threat. Um, and they want fast and reliable RTO and RPO performance. Again, thinking about this in terms of speed. Speed is money. Speed is the ability to contain cost and maintain profitability. And finally, they're also looking for systems that allow automated backup testing and verification. Um, it's not enough. It's not enough to say that you have backed up a system. It's to be able to know with assurance that the data has been backed up, that it is available, and that it can be recovered quickly. Um, I started my career as a security specialist. Um, One of the first things they taught me was the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And that's what BCDR is all about, is maintaining the confidentiality of the data, maintaining the integrity of the data, whether it is just being stored and backed up in case something gets lost, or whether an organization is experiencing an attack, and having that availability, knowing that it's there at a moment's notice. So this is, thinking about all these technical attributes, these are the things that MSPs say are important to them as they're looking for these new systems to be able to consolidate and optimize around. Um, System considerations is only part of it, though. The other consideration is, what are they looking for in their BCDR vendors? Well, they're looking for vendors that can provide them system performance, both efficiency and effectiveness or efficacy. They want vendors that will be able to stand by them, to be able to provide them with performance, maintain systems, to be continually updating and making sure that the MSP has the latest access to access to the latest technology. Then that technology is not only feature rich but will work. They want completeness of functionality. And again, go back to what I was saying earlier about one of the things that is hampering MSP performance, which is gaps in functionality. So what they're telling us is that they're out there, they're looking for systems that have completeness, that they're comprehensive. They also want vendors that can deliver superior technical support. And this is something that we hear all the time from resellers and service providers around the world, that they value the ability to be able to access a vendor for technical support, and they want to be able to have that access to be quick and efficient. They want extensibility and flexibility. They want to be able to move with you. They want to be, they want to be able to have the ability to integrate with other systems to be able to extend the value and add their own value add services. They want to be able to plug in with other applications or have interoperability with other applications and other systems. Again, anything that's generating data really needs to be supported with BCDR. And they want free training. They're looking for ways of maintaining skills. One of the big things coming out of this study is the cost of labor and the impact that the cost of labor is having on MSP operations. A big chunk of labor cost now is baked in technical training. A lot of vendors charge for that, or there is a cost, a soft cost associated with training. And so looking for a vendor that will be able to provide the skills knowledge, the skills enablement at either free or low cost is an important consideration. So where can you start this optimization journey? Well, first thing I'd recommend to you is assess your current operational efficiency. Look at your licensing costs. How much does it cost you to acquire and operate the system or systems that you have in place today? What are your average times to resolution? Because this will reflect both the efficiency of your systems as well as the experience of your customers and the cost to deliver. This will also impact things like your labor and your talent expense and your training costs. And also, if you can, through all this, try to quantify what the lost business, what is it that you're losing as a result of inefficiencies and ineffectiveness. This will give you an idea of what the foundation of your cost benefit analysis as you're moving to either optimize or consolidate. The second thing is develop an action plan. So by action plan, this means what I always advise this of everyone that I work with is, don't just act, plan, provide, give yourself a roadmap for what you're supposed to do, define what your true objectives are. And by doing that, by having a definition of what you're trying to achieve, it will keep you focused on the tasks that you need to do in order to achieve those objectives. Identify, list out what are the most critical BCDR functions for your business. What is it that your customers are expecting? What is it that you need to deliver? And use those as tent poles for your planning and consideration process. Align whatever you do with the customer needs. I can't tell you how important it is to work backwards from the customer expectations so that you're able to deliver the services that truly reflect the value or the expected value the customers want to see from their investments. And through all this, take what you learned from the first operational assessment with your considerations for new systems and do a cost benefit analysis. Find out whether or not, calculate up front whether or not the changes that you want to make will make a material difference in your business and your business viability and future success. And then lastly, just consolidate and optimize. Select the right solutions for your business. It's hard to imagine in this day and age that there's a need for more than the three or more BCDR solutions. There can be greater levels of consolidation, which will lead to greater levels of efficiency. Commit to a transition plan. Make sure that you're doing this smartly so you don't have any breaks in continuity or any gaps in your own service delivery. It's one thing to try to get to a new level of performance, but getting there can often come with disruption. So you need to plan around that to make sure that your customers remain whole during this process. And as you're doing this, systems are only one piece of this. Your own operational processes are also important. So you need to also look at how do you remove steps, remove friction from the way that you deliver your services to ensure that the systems and the processes align to drive a better level of value and operational outcomes on behalf of the customer. And through all this, and this is the last thing, it's the classic wash, rinse, and repeat. Commit to continuous improvement. As you go through a process like this, as you go through to optimize your business and consolidate your systems, look at ways that you can measure performance, look at how you can identify either gaps or problems or redundancies that you can wring out of the processes to continually improve the time to market, the time to resolution, and the customer value. All right, so finding success. Few things, a few other little tips I want to leave you with. You know, start with high technical performance. Think about when you're looking at the BCDR systems out there, look for systems that have a really strong RTO, RPO performance. It's hugely important to have that level of efficiency and speed. Look for systems that have greater levels of security and data protection, and always look at the level of reliability. Don't want failures. Optimize for the customer. Select the right technical solutions for the right implementations or the right use cases, and avoid system sprawl. It's really easy to get distracted. It's really easy to say that there's probably a need for another system, but really you can build smartly around fewer systems that will lead to more efficient processes and better outcomes and more repeatable outcomes. And then translate all of this into a value message. Once you go through this process, tell your customers about it. Invest in the sales and marketing so that they know what you're offering. They understand the investments that you've made, and they understand what your capabilities and your service delivery means to them. Demonstrate the effectiveness to your customers. They will appreciate it because it shows that you are working on their behalf to ensure that they have the protection and they have the support that they need to operate their business with confidence. Now, as I said, this is the information I've shown you here over the past few minutes is all a result of exclusive research that we've conducted with Axient. We've released this report. It's available in the MSP Xperience resource page. So I'm sure if you go there, you could probably find it. But it has a lot more information in here. It talks about it has economic impact benchmarks for you. It talks about the labor and talent issues associated with MSPs and the challenges that the MSPs are facing with their teams. It also expands upon the BCDR partnership considerations and the importance of technical features, and it also helps identify MSP performance and growth targets. So there's a lot of information packed in this report, and then we wrote this and we made it available to you to help guide you during what we do expect to be some challenging but not insurmountable times ahead. So with that, I am going to leave you and give you back to this great conference. I hope you have a great event, and I look forward to getting your feedback.